Hello everybody, this is Project Truth Beam, and I have a special treat for you to get your brain working and thinking. Now, I came across this video a long time ago about if I were the devil. It was made by a guy named Paul Harvey back in the 60s. He wrote that in 1964. And it basically is like a poetic reading of if I were the devil, these are the types of things that I would be doing. And it reads as if someone is writing it today. However, it's in a little bit of older language. Paul Harvey had a very long career in radio. He did all these very intellectual, poetic readings, and he was such a loss to humanity because he was a very good guy. I want to share the video that's going around out there called If I Were the Devil. You got to pass it along, share it with a bunch of people because it really gets you thinking and gets you analyzing the world around you. So let me play it for you.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
So there you have it, people. That is Paul Harvey's If I Were the Devil. Now, Project Truth Beam has created a updated version of that, which I'm going to read for you. But before I read to it, I just want to point out, in Paul Harvey's If I Were the Devil, he addresses the destruction of the family, the destruction of TV. He describes communism and socialism, and he talks about the lottery and gambling. And what's interesting to me is that I just came across somebody who mentioned that the lottery system is a additional tax. It's like a hidden tax. You know, you have tax, you have inflation, which is another hidden tax, but the lottery is a tax on people who are poor and can't do math, because if they knew the math involved um, with the lottery and their chances of winning, they wouldn't be playing. I mean, it's just astronomical, your odds of winning. So there's my little two-bit on the lottery. It's just another tax that people don't see, and of course, who's benefiting? The government. But anyways, so now let me read to you Project Truth Beam's updated version to If I Were the Devil. If I were the devil, I would create the perception that the masses are all correct, and that if everyone is doing it, then it has to be right. Group think. If I were the devil, I'd take away the guns not to save lives. On the contrary, I would take them away from the law-abiding citizens so that my people can flourish. Then people would live in fear. Under fear, I could use the government to take away anything that stands in my way. Your rights. I would then make culturally norms to live against God's word. I would hide pagan worship within all holidays and have the people think that they're doing it for God. I would position men in high places in Christianity so that they would blatantly lie to the people and thus leading them away from the truth. I would make the churches sell the emotional experience of feeling religious, all while never actually teaching them what God said. If I were the devil, I would have blamed the people I would have the people blame God for every bad thing that happens, while at the same time have them think that they are smart for not believing in God. I would use music to steer the culture into destroying people and societies and have them to kill themselves with drugs. I would bombard sports and entertainment with propaganda to the point where you cannot find any escape from my propaganda. Everything you lay your eyes upon will have my seeds of sin in them. That what you look upon, you will become. If I were the devil, I would create a culture of blindfolded faith in doctors, all while having the doctors only interested in pushing pills onto the hands of the public. I would take what is disease management and call it health care. If I were the devil, I would release a virus that was made in a lab as a biological weapon to cull off some of the population. I would be waiting on the sidelines with the antidote to the virus, which will be even more deadly in the long term. I would find a way to make people alter their DNA willingly and have them think they're doing it for their loved ones. If I were the devil, I would make billionaires do my bidding for depopulation and have them work under the disguise of philanthropy and charity. I would make male sperm count plummet in males because of the poisons I hide in everything. And for the females, I would have them sacrifice their children to me in the name of convenience. I would push the destruction of femininity, all while championing it to be feminism. I would destroy women's sports by pushing men into their games. I would create a selection of food in the stores that look nice to the eyes but is devoid of any nutrients, because I would have the soils depleted in minerals. I would also put pesticides and herbicides on all the crops so that the bugs won't even eat it, but I will make the humans eat it. I would promote high sugars in all the food so that people would be overweight and be diabetic and have cancer. Then I would tell them that they are perfect the way that they are and need not to change. I will make them celebrate being unhealthy. I would push anti-meat culture because it drives down protein consumption that's most needed in having healthy brains and bigger muscles. I would laugh when I finally convinced them to eat synthetic meat and bugs. I would put a chemical in the water to make the people docile like they did in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany and in the Gulag camps in Russia. I would wage war on people who question why and those who are independent thinkers by having them banned out of the public square, social media. If I were the devil, I would create division in the populations, and those who don't want to go along with my plan will be labeled all kinds of mean names. And I will use the fear of being labeled mean names to control the minds of the weak. I would do everything in a way that people wouldn't know they're doing it for me. I would convince them that everything that they are doing is for the betterment of society. I will create groupthink. If I were the devil, I'd just keep on doing what I'm doing. So that is our revised version. There's nothing new under the sun, people. And these people, Satan doesn't change his stripes. He doesn't change his tactics. He's been doing this forever. And we are in a spiritual battle. And people need to wake up to what's going on. And they need to see the evil for what it is and where it's taking us. The Bible is true. The Bible has warned us. God has put it in there to warn us what's coming. And it's going to go from bad to worse. I hope this has got you thinking. God bless and take care.